Oh, I really think we underestimate the importance of being told we're not crazy, of understanding that what we went through, the crap we went through, the environment we grew up in, the things that happened, the way we processed things, it doesn't make us crazy. Hello, peaceful people, and welcome to another episode of Good Soil. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and, just engaging with the podcast, with the show. And I'm so grateful for all the people who do tune in. So thank you for that. Thank you for submitting your questions. And I hope you have an amazing 4th of July weekend. I hope you have or had, today's Sunday, so I hope you have had a great weekend and a great holiday. And whether you were vegging out and, stayed home like me and had your phone on Do Not Disturb and watched TV all day and sat around and snacked, or whether you went out to the beach or picnicked or hung out with friends, I hope you had a really good time and you really enjoyed the moment. And you're getting ready for Monday, which we all are. So I want to dive right into actually, before I dive into our question today, I wanted to talk about this show that I'm watching currently called One Day. And I'm a sucker for a good it's not even rom-com, it's really just romance drama with hints of funny moments. But yeah, I love a good romance and it's such a good show. So anyone who's watched it, or maybe you hated it, maybe you loved it, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, because I am just like hooked like a fish and I am so into it. And I did watch the movie when it came out, so I am preparing myself for devastation and destruction and emotional turmoil. But right now I'm really enjoying the ride and I'm just sort of being delulu about the end until I have to face it, much like I do most things in my life. Kidding. Let's just dive into the question. And yeah, you guys submit some really good questions. So I'm excited for today's question because, as usual, I think it's something that we all can relate to in some form or another. So, dear Good Soil, I've been struggling with low self-esteem for years now, and it doesn't feel like it's ever going to get better. What causes low self-esteem, and are there tips to overcome it? So that's a really good question. And it's actually like one of my favorite questions because I am very familiar with low self-esteem. It's sort of my life's work to overcome it and to help other people and women overcome it specifically. But low self-esteem, it can come from a lot of different places. Low self-esteem can sort of be a part of our sensibility. If you're more sensitive, like I'm a very sensitive person, highly sensitive, and I always have been a sensitive person. I always have been sort of a observant, check out the situation before engaging person, making sure things feel safe, making sure everything is kosher. So I've always been a hyper vigilant person. And I think when you are that, you are a bit, and I'm speaking about my way into this. I don't think high sensitivity and low self-esteem are necessarily solely linked, but I think there's a strong correlation there. That we'll talk about as we get into other parts of this. But for me, having that sensibility from the start, I think allowed me and made me more susceptible to just the trauma and pain of living and feeling that so viscerally. And I think a part of being sensitive is when you are inundated with something, if someone criticizes you, if someone, says something about you or speaks to you in a certain tone or talks negatively about something you really love or enjoy or something you're proud of, or just shuts you down or you're getting rejected, I think all of that sort of seeps in really deeply and very fast, especially as a child when you don't have the things to combat and the mindset to always, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am good. What they said is more about them, not about me. Like, we don't have the self-awareness or the emotional intelligence to sort of push back against what hurt us. And so we take that on. We take on the rejection, we take on the shame, we take on the pain so heavily, and we wear that, and we continue to wear it. And the more things happen, we continue to pile it on and pile it on and pile it on. And so low self-esteem can really come from that entry point of being sensitive and being hyper aware of what people are doing, picking up on little things that, may not be true, may not actually, you're not always right when you're hypersensitive. You're not always right when you're hypervigilant, but you are good at picking up patterns. And so over time, if one thing has happened, you tend to correlate something similar to that. And then you create this cycle of picking up on things that may be there. More times will likely be true, but a lot of times aren't true. And so, yeah, low self-esteem is really something that sort of adds up over time. And from the other direction, maybe you're not highly sensitive, but you are just consistently inundated with rejection and criticism, and the environment you might have grown up in was not conducive to confidence. Any moment you had confidence, someone might have come in and stepped on it, or, maybe you had dyslexia or ADHD and you thought you were being yourself, but everyone says you were being a problem, or you were a slow learner, or you needed to be in this specific class. There's so many ways in which the world and the people around us, whether intentionally or not, sort of tell us we need to be something else. They say that we're not good enough as is. And some people, if they don't have the right means and the right support system to combat that negativity, then for me specifically, I would handle things alone. And that is a me thing. That's something I've always done. But in a sense, it's also a safety issue. Sometimes I didn't feel like I could speak my mind or could come up with something without getting inundated with, well, you're doing something wrong. You're not processing this right. You're the problem here. So again, it's all about environment. It's all about what you're consistently exposed to or were consistently exposed to. It's all about your sensibility, your sensitivities, your makeup from the start. It's all about, it's a lot of things that can lead to self-esteem. And the more we get older and the less we sort of take the time to process those things, if we bury them, if we wear them, if we it's almost like your chin just as a child just slowly keeps getting, going to your chest. And then as an adult, you realize you've been walking with your head down your whole life. So these things can happen very fast. And if they're consistent enough, they can really create a narrative in people that they're not good enough, that they are not worthy to be here, that they are not inherently good, that they are, shameful and guilty and wrong, and nothing they do will ever be good enough. No matter how well and hard they work, it's never good enough. And so I can speak to that in my own experience of having low self-esteem and really seeing the world as this place that didn't approve of me. There were always people who didn't approve of me. There were always slights and small things. I remember going to a psychic one time, and as an adult, I think this was maybe only 4 or 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I went to a psychic, and she said so specifically to me, she was like, you haven't had a lot of big things happen to you in your life, no crazy car accidents, no huge traumatic moments, but you've had a lot of small, tiny, little, she likened it to a knife, just little slashes in your heart, little slashes, and that have just left little scars that have added up over time. And I think a lot of times with self-esteem, that's kind of how it is. You just get to this place of, why am I always suffering? Why am I always sad? Why can't I walk into places and feel worthy and feel powerful and feel like I can express myself and speak up without fear of, ruffling feathers? And why do I run from confrontation? And why do I play so small? And why do I feel like I need to be perfect? And why am I constantly molding myself and masking and going out into the world and being what everyone needs me to be, and being this big shapeshifter? And then I get home and I'm drained and I don't know who I am. I don't know what I actually like. I don't know what my needs are, I think a lot of times with self-esteem, these things add up. Like I said, from childhood, what was your environment like? What was your support system like? Was it supportive or was it critical? Or what was your school environment like? Did you see people that looked like you? You know, I went to a predominantly white school, and so there were other messaging coming from that place of you're not good enough, you're not the beauty standard, you're not worthy of getting asked to go to dances or being, you know, dated. You were other, you are a unicorn, you know, you're smart for a black girl, you're pretty for a black girl, you're talented because you stand out because of your skin color. You know, there are a lot of messages in this world, depending, you know, women, people of color, transgender, you know, LGBTQIA. Like there are so many environments that we have to be a part of in our lives that can send different messages and mixed messages. And if we don't have that support to combat them, it really does become this armor of low self-esteem and low self-confidence and low self-worth. And so no matter how you got to that point, you know, it might be worth journaling and reflecting on, you know, maybe there was a big traumatic moment. Maybe you were sexually assaulted and that really shattered your confidence. Maybe you were rejected for you know, maybe these things happen later in life. You were rejected for a job and, you know, job after job, you know, you have many disappointments in your life where you thought things would work out and they didn't. You got a divorce, you lost a child. You know, there are so many things that can lead to these chips and cracks in our hearts and this heartbrokenness that we wear as shame and guilt. And we walk around with our chins to our chest and we are afraid to interact with the world, and we're afraid to, you know, speak to people and see people as good around us because we don't see ourselves as good. So that is sort of what low self-esteem is. Where it comes from is so different and unique for a lot of us, but I do think a lot of it is similar. You know, we all kind of end up in the same place of playing small and hiding and you know, just being afraid so much fear of being abundant and bursting with joy and boldness and creativity, and not dimming our light and allowing what people say and what people think, whether we are interacting with them one-to-one or it's all in our head. You know, I think about social media a lot. I think about all the ways that self-esteem can really impair us, can really impair someone. Is, you know, it permeates all aspects of life. You know, it permeates our relationship with God. It permeates, you know, being able to trust him, that he sees us as good, that he loves us, that we don't have to do anything to gain this love other than be open to it and to seek him and seek his face. You know, it's hard to see him as a father. It's hard to see him as good. Again, it's hard to see him as peaceful and loving and joyful when we don't see ourselves as that, and we're operating and looking at the world from this lens of there's not good here. You know, everything is scary and harsh and shameful. So why would God love me? Why would God choose me? I'm nothing. No one's chosen me. No one wants me around. No one likes me. So how could he love me? It permeates the way we step into our jobs with people pleasing and perfectionism and compromising too much and giving too much and not setting boundaries because we want everyone to like us and we want everyone to appreciate us and we want everyone to just allow us to be safe. And in doing that, we often give too much. And then you go home and you're like, well, I compromise my integrity. I compromise these strong values that I do have. But I can't live by them because I'm too busy compromising myself. I'm too busy betraying myself. I'm too busy being meek and quiet and choking my voice and tiptoeing around other people's needs and emotions and allowing them to be bold and extravagant and creative, but not allowing myself to be that, or not allowing ourselves to be that. It permeates other relationships, you know, intimacy, the way that you relate to partners, being possessive, being jealous, being codependent, needing affirmation and tests to prove how much someone loves you and likes you, and never believing any of it. Even if the boss gives you the compliment, even if you get the accolade, even if the relationship, you know, your partner affirms you constantly and they're there and they're showing you, it doesn't register. It doesn't penetrate this this armor that you've had on for so long. And so it can really be detrimental to those relationships. It can affect your creativity, as a writer. And just as a creative in general, someone who wants to put things out, and wants to express and be bold and to speak my mind, it can be hard when self-esteem gets in the way. No one's going to like this. No one's going to appreciate this. People are going to laugh at this. People are going to, criticize this. People are going to criticize me. This like intense attachment to everything you look at, you are a part of, and it's always negative. It's always the worst case scenario. It can affect so many things in life, and it's often, there are other things that come with it, depression and anxiety, and this hypervigilance, which all of this can be turned into positives and gifts, and pain can be transformed into power. So there's no, how do you overcome it? Understand that it's a journey, everything's a journey, and it may take your whole life to get to a point where you're walking bold and tall, but it's worth working toward. And something that I can say boldly is that when you try and when you really practice, some of the things I'm going to mention in a bit, it can get better, because the Brittany I was like 5 years ago was at rock bottom, had people please, perfectionized, I know that's not a word, done everything I possibly could to make my dreams come true. And at the end of the day, I was exhausted and tired, because all I had done was compromised myself and given too much and shape shifted and depleted myself. And so at the end of it, I had nothing left to give. And I was like, you know what? I need to change something here. I'm tired of suffering. I'm tired of feeling this way. I'm tired of constantly being afraid of people and like not being able to go on a walk in my neighborhood because I don't want to see people and I don't want to have to interact with them, and it stresses me out. Like this intense just fear of being in the world, this apologetic attitude of like, I'm sorry, I'm here, guys, like, let me make me as palatable and lovely as possible so everyone else feels okay that I'm alive and here. And I was like, enough is enough. I cannot do that anymore. And so through a series of just like having breakdowns of just crying, again, I say this a lot in my videos, but truly inviting God into the process for the first time, because I've always been aware of God, and I've always sort of spoken to him in the back of my mind, or just, I'll be in situations like, Lord, help me decide this, or Lord, what's going on here? But it wasn't ever really a relationship. It was just this awareness of God. But at this point in my life, that was when I really vocalized out loud, like, Lord, I need your help with this. I cannot do this on my own. I am struggling. I am like going insane. I cannot live this life anymore. I have nothing else to give. And this was around the pandemic when I think a lot of us were having these sort of revelations. And that was the first step for me, was just saying it, speaking my pain out loud, like just calling this thing out that I'd always kind of had in my head or I'd written in my journal. But really just saying, I need help. I need help. I need help from like you, because I've gone to these other places. I've gone to these other sort of sources, and I've tiptoed around what's actually the problem, but you know me better than anyone. And I need you to come in and help me be the person you see me as, and be the person that I know I can be, because I know that there's joy in me. I know that there's abundance in me. I know that there's power in me. I know that there's something good and greater in me, but I cannot get out of my own way. I cannot see the world as a place that allows that. Help me to see me, and help me to see my surroundings and my life like you see it. And in doing that, I started meditating. I started getting quiet. I wasn't moving all the time, and busy work, and making sure I was productive, and making sure everything was just, I appeared to be busy, and everything was, I was working hard towards something. I didn't know what, but I was doing something. And actually in the time, really not accomplishing anything when I look back on it. But, which is a little black and white. I was accomplishing things, but not things that were like soul stirring and fulfilling to the extent that I knew they could be. And so I started meditating. I started doing the opposite of what I was doing. I slowed down instead of sped up. I acted as if I had time. I acted as if being still was the most productive and important thing I could do in my life at that point. And it was, because I started listening. I started hearing the birds chirping. I started looking at the trees and how they were rustling and how they were okay. I started seeing hummingbirds everywhere, and they put a smile on my face and let me know things were going to be okay, and that maybe something was talking to me. God was actually responding. I started, journaling, and consistently journaling, not just like here and there when I had a problem, but just doing my daily pages, train of thought, getting things out of me that I had bottled up and suppressed. I started playing. I started doing things that made me feel very youthful and childlike. I was listening to like Disney hits, and listening to like Hercules and Mulan, and I started stretching and moving my body and dancing more and listening to songs that really energized me and excited me, and I started skating. I bought some roller skates. Not the best investment in retrospect, because I definitely should have used that. That was just not a good, but anyway, at the time, it really did help me tap into my youthfulness, and I tried something new, and I wasn't hard on myself for trying something new and being inexperienced and bad at something, and looking so dumb. Like they're like this late 20s, I'm 30 now, but this like old woman is out here skating. But we saw a lot of people doing that during the pandemic, just playing around, doing things, knitting, baking, everyone just getting back to using their bodies and their hands and doing things that were really grounding and stimulating and exciting, that had nothing to do with the laptop necessarily, or it didn't have anything to do with like being productive, but was just like creative and fun and trying something new. I started, and truly a really important part, which I think, coaching and therapy and, just this is where it helps a lot, because I truly believe, apart from all of that other stuff, which was so helpful and priming me to get to this point, was the importance of having your experience validated. Because there's something really healing and cathartic about having your experience validated. This might be validating to someone out there who is struggling with low self-esteem, or, doesn't feel like they can overcome it, to know and hear words that you may be, going through or have thought. There was something really validating about me. I don't know if anyone knows Dr. Ramani, but she talks a lot about narcissism. She's pretty groundbreaking in like the narcissism space and conversation. And I stumbled upon her videos, and she just spoke so directly to me. Like the videos, I watched so many videos of her explaining, narcissism and the signs and the effects, and, the way it has you moving through the world, and I had such a moment of like, this is what I've been experiencing. Like, this is the thing. Like, there have been other things, but this is a big part of my story and a part of my getting to this sort of shameful place. And no one has articulated it or expressed it in this way. And I felt so seen and so understood and so validated, that there was a level of just like a weight lifting off. And I think that's the importance of testimony and the importance of telling our stories and talking about these things, talking about the things that are painful and hard, and talking about our personal experiences, and talking about these kind of things that permeate our society, talking about these things that really, hurt people and cause these like deficits in life. And her doing that and me watching that and coming across those, like I said, I felt so validated, in this sense of relief, in the sense of like, I'm not crazy. There's something powerful about knowing you're not crazy, and your experience is as complicated as it is and as nuanced as things are, you're not crazy. I really think we underestimate the importance of being told we're not crazy, of understanding that what we went through, the crap we went through, the environment we grew up in, the things that happened, the way we processed things, it doesn't make us crazy. And I think there needs to be more spaces where people say, I see you. I'm sorry that that happened to you. I'm sorry that you went through that alone and you've been suffering and carrying that alone. And that's literally why I became a coach, is because I want to create a space. I am creating a space for women where I tell them, you're not crazy. What you went through was horrible, and anyone would have processed it the way you processed it. And I'm sorry that that happened to you, and you are still capable. And I'm sorry that you've told people and they tried to cover it up with the positivity band-aid and be strong, be resilient. You're still here. It's okay. All of that is good and well, but sometimes we just need people to hold space for us and to tell us we're not crazy, and to tell us that, we did the best we could, and we're trying, and we're able to move forward from this experience. We just need a break in that cycle, in that loop of just quiet suffering, and this loop of just, I'm not enough. Everything, is happening to me. Why can't I feel worthy? Why am I here? All of this. Sometimes we just need to break that loop, and getting perspective on that, and seeing yourself in a video, or seeing yourself in a coach or a therapist or a friend who you confide in, who's a good listener and doesn't try to fix things, that can be really powerful. That is so powerful and so crucial to this, the healing process and the overcoming of low self-esteem, is reframing the narrative, reframing the roots to these symptoms you're experiencing, and breaking that cycle. And then you can start letting things go. Then you can start making different decisions, different choices, start meeting your needs differently, start understanding what your needs are in the first place and how you can start meeting them if you're not. So much can come from understanding and metabolizing these things that we may be suppressing and just sort of operating on autopilot with. It's such an important part, and I didn't know that until I saw these videos and was like, oh my gosh, aha, I get it now. I'm not crazy. I'm just hurt. I'm just hurt. And now I can be angry about being hurt. Now I can place proper blame. I'm not taking all the blame for everything. I can cry about this properly. I can decide if I want to create distance here, or forgive, or seek intentional support for this particular issue in my life. There's a name to the suffering, or a part of the suffering that I'm experiencing. And so that was a really big part of my self-esteem journey as well, was just sitting in the funk and sitting in the issue from a different perspective, and allowing myself to feel all the things that new perspective and that aha moment brought, and then being able to make some important decisions from there, and really feeling the weight of that sort of lift, and sort of like and this is going to sound like a gross metaphor, but in the olden days where they would, like, if you had an infection, I think, or if you would you would cut and let blood kind of run out so that the infection would get out of your body. And that's sort of like how I envision this, is just allowing that, the scar is always going to be there, but allowing some of that pus and that buildup to just release, so that can slowly start to heal. And that's what that does. So truly, you are not alone. Like, low self-esteem can permeate so much, which is why it's such an important thing to really work on, and to do the work, to do the self-reflection, to do the self-discovery, to explore and to seek help, to ask for help. During this process, I also learned that I had ADHD. I was reflecting and realized I was having these issues with finishing things, and these issues with focus and emotional regulation and all of these things. And I realized I had ADHD, and that was another aha moment, and a moment of relief, of just being like, I knew it. I knew I had something. I knew I wasn't just lazy and flighty and just just had terrible character issues. This was a thing that I was battling, and being able to get the support to reframe my mind, reframe how my brain works, reframe how I interact with the world, getting medication, getting help, getting that support, understanding, how that affects my body, how it allows me to move in the world differently, understanding that I can lift the shame off of the labels that have been put on me and the labels I put on myself for not being able to function the way other people were functioning. And so a lot of the work and the release that comes with this self-esteem journey and kind of overcoming self-esteem, a lot of it is just reframing and getting more information about you. And that is why journaling is so important. That's why talking to God is so important. That's why meditating is so important, and getting still and not just doing the same old things hoping for a better outcome, but really slowing down and understanding that at this point in your life, if you want to get over the self-esteem and start the journey of moving closer to your whole self, it does take that level of self-reflection. It does take that level of intentionality of stillness is productive. Stillness is important. Stillness is going to take me further than me continually to just beat my head against the wall and be a hamster on the wheel and exhaust myself. No, this is going to be sustainable. I want to create a sustainable life, a life that is, that has longevity, and that, that fills me up instead of depletes me. And that is how I become more productive. That's how I show up in the spaces more peaceful and joyful. That's how I tap into the real me. That's how I learn what my voice is. That's where I understand my values. That's where I understand what kind of life I want to live. That's where I understand who I want in my life at this time. That's where I understand how my childhood affected me. That's how I understand what kind of therapist I need to see, or what kind of coach I want to talk to, or if I want to go down another career path because this one truly doesn't speak to my sensibilities or what I love at all. It helps us to ground ourselves and ground ourselves in the reality of who we are. And that reality is that we are good, that we are capable of having peace, that we're capable of being joyful, that we're capable of changing our minds and redirecting and reframing. We're capable of healing. We're capable of seeing ourselves. We're capable of being loving to ourselves, being kind to ourselves. We're capable of helping others without compromising ourselves and giving ourselves away. We're capable of saying no. We're capable of walking with our chin held high. We're capable of being powerful. We're capable of completing things. We're capable of getting the help we need. We're capable of meeting our needs. We're capable of supporting others and lifting them up and pouring from a fuller cup. We're capable of rest. We're capable of slowing down. We're capable of creating a life that is sustainable. And in that comes joy, not just happiness, not just circumstantial happiness, but joy that we can find in the midst of what we're going through because we're practicing it. We're so much more capable of being the abundant, whole, open-hearted human that has scars, and those scars turn into testimony, and those scars turn into relatability, and those scars turn into the things that change the world. That pain transforms if you let it. And so let it. And you can let it, and you can do it. And trust me, if I can do it, you can do it. And being at rock bottom is a beautiful place to be because there's such rich, fertile soil there, and the only way to go is up. So if you are at rock bottom, if you are exhausted and tired and over it and just can't live another day people pleasing and being perfect and compromising yourself, that is a good place to be. It's a rough getting there, but once you're there, like I said, the only place you can go is up. So keep swimming, just keep swimming. As Dory says, you are good soil. Rock bottom is good soil. You have always been good soil, and it is time you believe it. It is time you practice embodying it. And it's time you start watering and growing the seeds that are inside you. They're such beautiful seeds, and you are such a beautiful light and a beautiful person. And I am here on this earth to tell you. So thank you for tuning in once again. I love you. I appreciate you. Submit your questions. I think I mentioned this, but I might not have. I will put the question submission form in the box below, the comment section something below, you'll see it. And if you want to work with me, if you're looking for support with your low self-esteem, you're struggling with that, and you want to find more peace and joy in your daily life, you can visit peacetopower.com. Again, that's peacetopower.com, and learn more about me, learn more about what I do. In the meantime, have a beautiful weekend, have a beautiful 4th of July, and yeah, be good to yourself. You deserve it. You are good. You are good soil. All right, I love you. Bye. Thank you for watching another episode of Good Soil. If you liked this video, be sure to share it with friends and family, because we could all use a little reminding that we are good soil. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.